Thanks for listening to episode 26 of the Unlockable podcast. We just want to give a huge thanks to every single person that entered our giveaway last month for the special 25th episode. You guys are so awesome for rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple and Spotify and wherever else you left a rating. We really appreciate that. I don't think you guys understand how much that benefits the show. That being said, our giveaway winner was at Brennan Taylor 38 on Instagram, so he got himself a nice copy of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Anyways, that's enough intro. Let's get into the show. Today we're talking all about foreign releases that never came out in America, so let's do it. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. I'm Christian, and joining me as always is the Game Girl Advance SP herself.
That's me.
You know, I could record myself saying that, and then I could just never say it again. I could just paste it into all future episodes. It's like the same exact words every single episode.
Yeah, but then you'd have to find it and then put it in there, and it's 5 seconds or less to say it.
Hey Hannah, how's it going?
Good. Pretty good. Can't complain too much.
I want to start this episode by bringing up something very near and dear to our hearts. And does the word unlockables mean anything to you?
Oof. You want to trigger me right now?
What happened? What's wrong with that word, Hannah?
Well, I asked a poll on my Instagram, and I tagged it with the Unlockable podcast, right? As one does, because that's the name of our podcast. And someone was like, "Oh my God, you're on the Unlockables podcast? That's so cool!" And I was like, "What is that?" And so I looked it up, and so there's an imposter out there who added an S to our name. He now has his own. So that's nice.
Yeah, if anyone out there happens to listen to the Unlockables podcast and the Unlockable podcast, first of all, props to you for keeping those two separated. That's nuts. I don't know. Eric, if you're listening, I know Eric is the host of the show. Whoever Eric is, you have hurt our feelings. And yeah, this guy, he started about 2 months ago, and he's doing some weekly video game podcast, and I haven't listened to it. I'm sure it's a fine podcast, but we see you out there, man.
Yeah. We feel personally attacked. Just know that.
Anything new in your life, Hannah? Non-video game related? What's going on?
Non-video game related? I guess it's finals week, or it will be on Monday, so that's fun. I don't know if any of you out there have ever taken an accounting class, but that's like my kryptonite, and I hate it. So that's going to be real fun taking that exam. But other than that, no. Not really. Just studying a lot. And stressing. What about you?
Just enjoying not being in school. Every time we do this, I am having a great time and you're not having a great time.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not very good at this intro stuff where we kind of BS for a couple of minutes. So I think that's why we always just get into the been buying and been playing, because I don't know. Probably because we spend so much time talking before the episode starts, so I don't really have to do this fake catching up with you. You know what I mean?
That's true. I mean, we don't have to do the real catching up. We can just wait for the fake catching up.
Just silence for an hour before we actually start recording.
Yeah, it'll just be furious key clacking.
Typing.
Clickety, clickety,
Yeah.
clackety, clickety, clackety. But,
all right.
yeah.
All right, let's do it. Been buying, Hannah. What in the heck have you bought since our last episode?
Well, I did buy a few things, and I actually texted you, and I was like, I don't know why I did this, but I did. So, NIS America, or NIS America, whatever you want to say, they had a sale going on their website, and they publish just a bunch of weird niche games. I have a ton of them, but I bought 3 of them. I have Yomawari, the Long Night Collection. Don't ask me what kind of game it is. I don't know. The only reason I bought it is because I know it's going for $70, $80 on eBay, and it was I think it's $30 on the website. And then it's yeah, you get free shipping if you spend $75. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna get some more. So I got R-Type Final 2, which I think is a shoot 'em up game. I have no idea. And then there's
Absolutely.
the third one. It's called Mad Rat Dead, so that I could reach that $75. And I got free shipping, but I spent $100, so they really got me. Don't know what that one is, but it's got a cute little rat on the front. And then I also took a poll on Instagram about what I should buy, because I had a $10 Best Buy rewards. And I think I said Persona 5 Strikers, Ace Attorney, Shin Megami Tensei 3, and I can't remember, what was the other one?
The Doom collection.
Oh yeah, the Doom Slayer collection, which you told me was lame, so that was also the least voted. But anyway, Ace Attorney Chronicles 1, so I got that for like $20 and change. So, yeah.
That one's not out yet, right?
No, it is out.
Oh, okay.
It is very much out, and it's got like a beautiful cover art. I mean, if I didn't know what the Ace Attorney Chronicles game was, I'd be like, this game looks awesome, I'm going to get it. But yeah, I'm kind of excited. I've never played an Ace Attorney Chronicles game, or any Ace Attorney, or any of those in that series, so I'm excited to see what it's all about.
Yeah, I haven't played them either, but they are definitely beloved games, and I would definitely be down to try them sometime. I have one of them.
I've never played any of them. But yeah, pretty exciting stuff. I actually bought stuff this time. Aren't you proud of me?
Multiple stuffs. That's what we like to hear.
Multiple stuffs.
Yeah, I was very happy when you were texting me. Yeah. Oh, and you had a Mercari order that fell through, so you were trying to get even more stuff.
Oh, dude, that was so strange. So I ordered, I don't know if I'm sure people have used Mercari before, but what I don't understand is I placed an order for a game, right? And the guy took forever to send it, which is not uncommon. Sometimes people are like, hey, I'm not going to be able to get to the post office, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, no message or anything. So I was like, okay, that's kind of suspicious. And then he sends it on like the last day before it gets canceled. And then it's got a tracking number and everything. And it was delivered. It said it was delivered to my apartment. But my office never logged anything. And the package wasn't there. I went and checked. But yeah, and it stayed there. It was like, you have 3 days to rate. And it was on the second day. And I was like, dude, I haven't gotten it yet. No response. And then Mercari just randomly canceled the order. I was like, dude, that's crazy, because it had a tracking number. So obviously the Postal Service got it, right? There was a box.
Very strange.
I don't understand how that works.
How were his reviews?
He had a couple reviews, but I looked again the other day and his account's gone. So I don't know what's happening.
Well, the fact that he had any reviews at all, I mean, that's kind of I don't know, you would have expected him to be a decent seller.
Right? I wouldn't have bought someone without any reviews, but it's so strange. And my office didn't get anything. But I even checked, I tracked it on like the actual USPS website, and it was like, yeah, delivered. That's creepy as heck, man. But yeah, I would have gotten Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze, Fire Emblem Three Houses, and Mario and Rabbids, the first one, for I think it was $60, which I thought was a fairly decent deal.
Sounds like a good price, $20 a pop.
And it was sitting there for a while, so I don't know. It was very strange. It makes me weary of buying things from there again, but I know I'll do it anyway because I have a problem.
Well, you're guaranteed to get money back regardless, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, but I don't know. It was just strange.
My turn. I got a ridiculous amount of GameCube games in the last 30 days, so naturally I will not read them all. But some highlights, Hannah. I got Legend of Zelda 4 Swords.
4 Swords? Big box or just regular?
Regular box, like a lame-o.
There's nothing wrong with that. No shame in the small box game.
It was expensive enough as a small box.
I bet it was.
Resident Evil 3 as well. That is a hefty price tag on that one. I don't know why 3 specifically is so expensive, but it is. Then, so yeah, both of those actually came from Peaceful Games on Instagram. I don't know if he probably doesn't listen to the show, but I appreciate him for selling me those games. He's actually in Korea and collecting North American games, so
Oof, that's
I don't know how you do that, but yeah, that's got to be awful. What else? Ninja on GameCube. I actually have streamed that with my best friend the last 2 weeks. That is a pretty fun 3D platformer. Yeah, it's actually made by Namco, or it's published by Namco. Have you ever heard of Ninja?
I have. He's either a red or a blue ninja, right? On the cover?
Definitely black, but yeah.
Oh. Well, shoot. I know what you're talking about. He's like a cute little animated ninja, not like an actual ninja, right?
A little chibi guy, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Continue.
I mean, he could totally be blue, like a dark blue, but anyways, that game is fun for sure. Not like a 10 out of 10, but it's good. I got Goblin Commander, another expensive game. I got Ribbit King, the most expensive game on this list today. Yeah.
Welcome
Apparently
to the club.
that's a good... Yeah. Hannah had a very expensive GameCube game before I did. Shadow the Hedgehog was also noteworthy, and that's it for GameCube. Yesterday I got the NES Classic Series Donkey Kong. I really love these NES Classic Series Game Boy Advance games. I'm sure you've seen them. They
the
have
Black Label.
They have Mario, just a bunch of like old NES games, and Bomberman's on there. Both Zelda games. They just look so sleek, and I'm excited to have them all on the shelf at one point in my life. The last thing I gotta mention, I got a late birthday present from the great Game Girl Advance SP. It was WarioWare Get It Together.
Oh,
and
I also bought that.
I have I have already beaten it. The campaign is like 2 hours, maybe 3. It's basically a glorified like tutorial on how to play the game. That's what I would describe the story as. But regardless, like, you're not buying this game to play the story. You're buying it to freaking master these mini games, get your high scores, and what I have been most excited for personally is to play the online challenges if there's a weekly challenge that they have on this game. And I have seen my friend, he has a YouTube channel, Daily Beating. He's always posting the weekly challenge, and it's got me like super interested in playing this game, and the game is not disappointing. So thank you very much, Hannah.
You're very welcome.
I'm excited for you to play it, and we can compete on the weekly challenges.
Oh, dude, you know I'm about to compete with you.
Because you and we played the GameCube one together, and epic game. You know,
It was awesome.
We're both very inexperienced is the right word, in the WarioWare series. But yeah, WarioWare is super cool.
I agree. Love that series.
I know you've been playing stuff. What have you been playing?
Oh, dude, heck yeah. I don't remember if I had beaten it by the time we recorded our last podcast, but I beat Kirby in the Forgotten Land, but I haven't beaten like all the after credit stuff. I'm going to do that next. And then I was like, what?
I just said heck yeah.
And then I was really in the mood for like a RPG, so I was like, okay, I'll take it easy and I'll just play the Futures Connected part of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. It's like I think you unlock it after beating the base game once, but it's like a year out after the events of the first one ends, so it's just kind of like a small mini kind of side story. It took me about 10 hours, so maybe that's not many, but the game's like 70 hours. But yeah, that was fun. And then I was like, you know what, I still want some more RPG in my system, so I decided to start playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2 again. Not from the start this time, though. I'd gotten about halfway through my other save file. After beating the game once, you get like the New Game Plus or whatever, and it basically is like, you can play the game again, and you can keep certain stuff. Like, I think your items go back to 0, but I think you keep the blades that you had awakened, and you can keep your level. So it's like super easy. I'm like a level 85, and I'm just crushing those like beginning monsters at like level 10. So it's basically just to experience the story again and like go to all the locations, but still super fun. There's still stuff I'm finding out and exploring, and it's like I'm playing a whole different game. It's really awesome. And then
nice.
I decided to also pick up Monster Hunter Rise again to prepare for Sunbreak that's coming out soon. I think it's July or June.
Definitely summertime.
Definitely one of those sometimes. But yeah, it took me a while to get reacquainted with the controls and all that.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It really is a lot, but I think I did pretty well. But I could not imagine putting that game down for like a year or like a couple months and then pick it up and I'd be like, oh my god, this is too much. It's one of those things you have to like keep playing, keep refreshing your brain. But yeah, it was fun. What about you?
I also have just 2 days ago, I think, I played a little Monster Hunter just randomly. I need to get back in there and finish up like the main story so that you and I can carry on our multiplayer goodness.
I cannot believe you haven't beat the base. It's not even that hard. It's not even that long.
Hannah, is it really that shocking? I play so many games.
Well, so do I.
I guess, yeah, I don't know. Will definitely not disappoint you. I will finish it up soon.
Yeah, man. Keeping me waiting.
But yeah, I totally know what you mean about the controls. That game is nuts. Everything I thought, I think I tried A, B, and then Y to attack, and it was finally X was the attack button. I was like, wow, the top button on the controller, that doesn't make any sense. And I didn't remember that or anything, so
it's like XXY, XXXYYY, XXYY, XXYY.
It has been at least 2 months since I picked that game up, so looking forward to beating that. But yeah, I beat WarioWare Get It Together. I finished Sword of Mana, which I definitely started in 2021, I think, and yeah, just fell off and finally hammered it out this like a week or two ago.
Very nice.
Sword of Mana is pretty cool. It's like gorgeous on the Game Boy Advance screen. It is not my favorite Mana game, I would say, but solid game for sure.
Very nice.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land, you guys don't need to hear me talk about it anymore, but it is a great game for anyone who likes Super Mario 3D World or just 3D platformers in general, 2D platformers. Like, Kirby was awesome.
But,
highly recommend.
If you do like Kirby and want to hear more about Kirby, you should listen to last month's episode.
Oh, yeah.
Shameless plug.
Plugged it right in. I beat Streets of Rage 4 with one of my best friends. He came down to visit, and yeah, I've already beaten that game once a couple years ago, but you can never have too much Streets of Rage in your life. I beat the original Legend of Zelda. I know we talked about it a little bit last time, but wow, it was so satisfying to finally cross the finish line on that game. It is not easy, let me tell you.
No, it is not easy. Neither is the second one.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to play that, but I'm not in any rush to get started on it.
I wouldn't be either.
Yeah, first Zelda, it's fine. I mean, it's not...
It's fine?
I don't know, it's not a 10 out of 10 game for me personally. I think that it was probably revolutionary for its time. Yeah, I don't know. Wouldn't play it again.
Ouch.
I don't know. It caused me a lot of pain, and I looked up how long to beat the game. They said 8 hours. It took me like 40 hours. Like, that game took me a long time.
Yeah, that's for speedrunners. That's not for normal people.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of stuff that, like, do not try to go into this game, like, assuming you're not using a cheating, like, a walkthrough or whatever, or save states. Like, make sure that you use everything the game originally came with, because if not, you're screwed. The game came with a giant map that helps immensely, and the manual is huge and helps immensely. So definitely look up the PDF or whatever of both of those whenever you're playing through this game.
Very good advice.
And the last thing is Earthbound. I think I probably talked about it already. This game's freaking weird, and I freaking enjoy it a lot. It is a very strange and interesting RPG. Playing that on Switch Online.
Wow. You're one of them. I'm just kidding. I shouldn't say anything. I've never played it.
All right. Talk to me about news, Hannah.
News. Okay. So Mario Golf is the next N64 game to be drip fed onto Nintendo Switch Online. Woo! How excited.
Which game is it?
Mario Golf. 64.
Oh, I didn't even hear that.
Yep. That's the next one. I didn't write a date, but I think it's soon. And then Bandai Namco I think they're changing their logo, right? To like that weird, I don't like it. Anyway, that's not the story. That's not the news. Bandai Namco is reportedly working on a remaster/remake of a 3D action game. Many people are suspecting it's possibly Kid Icarus or some Star Fox game. What do you think?
They're working on a Nintendo IP?
I believe so, yes.
Wow.
Rumor. It's a rumor. It's a rumor. I got it. It's a rumor.
What could Namco work on? Why would it be Kid Icarus? Why is that a rumor?
I would like a Kid, or the Kid Icarus from the 3DS. I would love that.
I bet it's F-Zero.
What?
I bet it's F-Zero.
You think it's F-Zero?
Oh, you said action game?
Yeah.
Oh, that would certainly not be F-Zero.
I would vote for Kid Icarus. That would be my vote. I hope it's Kid Icarus. And then, let's see. Yeah, dude, I want to play that so bad, but the 3DS one is so expensive. Like all 3DS games right now. I would love to play the 3DS one. But yeah, we'll see. There you go, Mike. Get a chance. Next, we have an online leak, and quotations here. You can't see it, but quotations suggest that Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games are coming to the Switch via a leaked Game Boy emulator. Did you see that?
I did. I think it's super cool. I posted it in the Discord, and my guy MP3 said it was fake as heck. But everybody else on the internet, everybody else seems to think it's real, so I don't know.
I think everyone's just assuming it's real because they want it to be real. You know? Yeah. They're manifesting it. And then... I don't know. Let's see. Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed into 2023. I hate to say it, but I think everyone saw that coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's sad, but it's coming. But in good news, Monolith Soft and Nintendo have moved up the release date of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 by 2 months. 2 months! Went from September.
Incredible.
Went from September to July.
When does that ever happen? I mean, really?
Has that ever happened anywhere, anytime? To any game?
That's so awesome.
I don't think so. So they just randomly announced this on Twitter the other day, and it showed off a trailer with some really cool story elements and combat and all that fun stuff. I'm trying not to watch it too closely because I don't want to be like spoiled, because there's been like a lot of stuff coming out. But they're releasing a collector's edition, which is normal for Xenoblade Chronicles games. They released one for X, 2, 1, all of them. But the collector's edition's only going to be sold through Nintendo's website, which is not common in the US at all. I know it is in other regions like Australia and stuff, but not here. I think that's like the first time that's ever happened, isn't it?
I can't. I mean, I feel like nope. I don't think it's ever happened before. Just like for one specific version of a game. I think that's freaking awesome. I think that it's begging for people to scalp it to death.
Yes, probably. I hope what they do is they limit it and they really try to like crack down on the bots and stuff, but it's making me nervous because at least when it goes to retail, I have a few chances, right? Target, Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon. Yeah. I have at least 4 chances. This time it's only 1, but I really hope it's like I don't know, they have a bunch of stock where it's like they take as many orders as they get or something like that, because it's making me real nervous.
Yeah, I know you got those Twitter notifications turned on just for them.
I look
just for that
all the time, like every 15 minutes. I'm like, I have to be first. I have to be there. But yeah, I'm very excited for that, but also very nervous, but more excited than nervous. That's why I'm playing more Xenoblade Chronicles 2 right now, because supposedly they're all supposed to connect. But like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. But that's all I got for news.
All right. Yeah, that was pretty exciting. I knew you were going to be pumped for that news.
I almost cried. Almost cried.
She's not joking, guys.
I'm not joking.
All right, today's episode. What the heck are we talking about, Hannah?
We are talking about region exclusives.
Whoa, what is that?
So basically, I mean, you said in the intro that it's only like we're only gonna be talking about United States, but I have a couple other ones in there. But yeah, region exclusive, it's just a game that comes out in one country or some countries and not others. So like a bunch of Nintendo games, Nintendo published games, are only in Japan, and they're like, nah, America doesn't need these. So they just don't port them or bring them over, localize them anywhere else.
You know what just hit me? We didn't take any notes for games that came out in America but not in other places, so...
Yep. True. That's a long list.
But that's all right, because we all live in America. I'd say the majority of the listeners live in America, so they don't want to hear more about the games that are exclusive to America, right?
Right.
That's my justification on that. So, all right, yeah, region exclusives. That's a good definition. Pretty straightforward. Why are some games region exclusive? The one answer that I always find interesting is when countries have different, there have been a lot of times in history where religious references have prevented games from leaving a region, and I'm sure that doesn't happen as much today, but in the 90s that was a huge thing. And yeah, what are some other reasons though?
Oh, you want me to read them? Yeah, I did take these notes. Anyway, so one of the big ones is companies might not have the budget. So, when you make a game, especially early in the 90s, and you said in the 80s and stuff, there was no digital storefront, so you actually had to make the game and ship it overseas and do all that. And companies are just
all that crap.
Yeah, companies are like, nah, I don't want to do that. And also localization, it takes, if it's a big game, it takes quite a long time. So some companies just don't have the budget, and then some companies just don't have the interest. A lot of, you said religious stuff, but even just cultural stuff, that's specific to one country, like Japan. Americans are going to be like, I don't care about that story of, Genji and blah, 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 and all this Japanese stuff. We'd be like, I have no idea what that is. So we wouldn't have any interest in it. And then fear of it not selling well. Even if they do, put in all that money and put in all the effort, they're just they don't want to take the risk. Especially if it's a smaller company. They don't necessarily have the resources to do that. So they're like, we might as well just leave it here. And then another one that I kept finding when I was doing notes is that a game might come out or be scheduled to come out late in a console's life. And the company or developers or publishers, whatever, just don't want to take the time because the newer hardware is already out there. And they're like, no one's going to buy this game, for the Super Nintendo, if the Nintendo 64 is already selling really well or blah, 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 stuff like that. That was another one that I found quite a bit. But yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that's pretty much covers our bases here.
Yeah, fear of a game not selling well is kind of the big one, I think, that can branch off of all the other things we just listed. But yeah. How has region exclusivity changed in recent years? I think you mentioned it with the I know you mentioned it with the digital storefronts. I think that it is so much easier to just release a game on the Switch eShop, the PlayStation Store, whatever, because of all the manufacturing that doesn't have to go into it. Localization does still have to happen,
right?
But if you think about with internet and everything that we have these days, it is so much easier to communicate. Yeah, times have definitely changed.
Yeah, for sure, and it's definitely going to keep changing down the line. Especially with things like fan translations and stuff, you can get a Japanese game and I'm sure someone out there has already translated it. So many of the games that I have on my list are fan translation available 2012 or fan translation blah blah blah. So they're definitely out there. And another one is websites like PlayAsia are a really good way to get physical regions exclusives. PlayAsia has all around Asia. They have Korean, they have Japanese, they have all sorts of Asian countries, and it's just an e-commerce site. So they don't really. It's not like the company doing it. They just send it to, and they get it from the company and then send it to people. So it's really, really easy to get them. I've ordered stuff from there. Super easy.
I think I was about to place my first order there for Pocky and Rocky, which actually, surprisingly enough, I think it comes out today. That just kind of hit me. But anyways, Pocky and Rocky was going to be a foreign exclusive, and I ended up canceling it for the North American copy that got announced later. But yeah, PlayAsia, pretty sweet. Very easy to use. It's not like you're paying a fortune for shipping, like on top of the game's price. It's crazy how easy it is to just import a game these days.
It is very reasonable. And then I have, this was my note that I took, Operation Rainfall. I don't know if you know what that is.
Never heard of it.
Okay, hold on. Marbles is on my desk. Okay, so Operation Rainfall. You don't know what that is at all?
I've never heard of that.
Okay, well, let me just get out my notes here. So basically, Operation Rainfall is a fan campaign which was founded to promote the release of Japanese exclusive titles. And basically, I guess just a whole bunch of people, a bunch of fans and whatever, organized together, and they basically harassed Nintendo of America. They sent letters and emails, and they called them. They're like, hey, we want these games to come over to the U.S. We want them localized in the U.S. They're going to, they will sell well. We will buy them if you bring them over. And so the 3 games that Nintendo of America finally, begrudgingly localized over here were The Last Story, Pandora's Tower, and Xenoblade Chronicles, all for the Wii. So without Operation Rainfall, we wouldn't have either of those titles.
Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah. So basically, if you just harass people and post on social media, you'll get what you want. Of course not, but I mean, I'm sure they were respectful. But yeah, if you just advocate and you're like, hey, developers, we really want this game, I mean, chances are they'll hear you, and then it'll work.
You talk about those games a lot, so you've probably mentioned Operation Rainfall to me, and I just didn't remember the name of it, but that is really interesting. I've never heard, that story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was very interesting, so yeah. I'm sure that'll happen more and more down the line.
Those people that, really push for it probably feel an extreme sense of pride every time they look at The Last Story on their shelf.
I agree.
They're like, yeah, I did that.
That was me. I also thank them because I would never have gotten into this series, I guess. Xenoblade Chronicles, at least. How would it have been different? I don't know. Would it be over here now? Who knows? It's all thanks to them.
Foreign games? What foreign games have released recently that never came over? I don't have any examples off the top of my head, Hannah.
I have a few. I was hoping that you had some. But that's fine if you don't. So the 3 that I have are the Famicom Detective Club 1 and 2. They were announced in a Nintendo Direct not that long ago. They came. I think it was only digital only though. And then there's the Fire Emblem game Shadow Dragon, and the Shining Blade of Light. I think that came over. It was like $5 for Fire Emblem's anniversary. It was only available for a certain amount of time, and it was $5. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, that one was... I almost picked it up.
I did. So that means my Switch in 10 years is going to be super expensive because it's got that $5 digital game on it.
And the Flappy Bird effect.
Yeah, I still have my iPhone with Flappy Bird. And then the final one that I know off the top of my head is Live Alive, the Square Enix, the Octopath Traveler looking HD 2D remake of Live Alive RPG.
Yeah.
So it's happening, folks. Just you wait.
I feel like Live Alive, whatever, and Famicom Detective Club were both announced in the same Direct a few months ago, right? You might not remember.
I don't remember, but that sounds right.
I really wish I would have written some notes for this, because this is one of my favorite things, is tearing down the boundaries on things like foreign exclusivity. I freaking love it when this happens, and I can't believe I can't think of any games right now.
I know, I thought for sure you'd come up with some Sega games, or I don't know, some, not Xbox, because but you know how they are overseas. But yeah.
Let's get into the meat of the episode, I would say. The foreign games that... Oh, no, hang on. I'm skipping a topic. Foreign games that we own. I have a list of mine, so I'm going to pull that up. What foreign games do you currently have in your collection?
Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, but the game that I bought... I think I've mentioned this a few times before, but the game that I bought from the actual PlayAsia website, and this was before they, streamlined their shipping prices. This was, I want to say, 8 years ago, 8 years ago. But I bought a Sword Art Online game, which is an anime. You'll love it or hate it. I liked it at the time. And it came out for the PS3, not in the United States though. And at the time, I didn't have a PS4, and it was brought over to the PS4, but not the PS3. So I ordered it offline, off Play Asia, and it was like a really pretty penny. Like, I think I almost paid $100 for it. This was that expensive, but I was like, you know what? It's totally worth it.
That was a what was the name of that?
Sword Art Online Lost Song.
Right. Gotcha.
Yep. So yeah, that was the only one that I got from Play Asia, and I think this one technically got I guess is a North American release. It only released on Square Enix's website. It's I Am Setsuna. That's another one. It was on sale. I was like, yeah, why not? It didn't release like in stores physically, but it released on their website physically, so I don't know if you really want to consider that one. But
we got it digitally, right?
Yeah, we got it digitally. So I don't know if that one counts. And then, for whatever reason, I found a PAL copy of Professor Layton, one of the Professor Laytons on the 3DS, in a Monster Hunter game for the 3DS. In a Goodwill. It's like, that is strange. I saw the little green, like, little triangle on the spine, and I was like, that's not right. And also, I don't know if you know this, but the 3DS is region locked. I'm pretty sure.
No freaking way. That can't be right.
I think so. It's either the DS or the 3DS is region locked. And you just can't play them. Like, well, I
I'm
would
about
have
to
bought
look
them.
it up and make you look like a fool.
One of them is, I swear to God.
Oh my gosh, the 3DS is region locked.
Okay, see? So I couldn't play them even if I wanted to. So,
Wow.
Yeah, and then I also have a bunch of Famicom and Super Famicom games, but I wasn't going to, like, shuffle through them and see if it was an exclusive or not. But I know I have some. But yeah, that's really it. I don't really collect that many foreign games or foreign exclusive games. I have a few foreign games, just not exclusive ones.
I feel you. I have 10 foreign games, and I did not realize that we were just talking about exclusives, but that totally makes sense with the episode topic. I will quickly mention them. I have Kururin on Game Boy Advance, which is... I was dumb. You know what? We'll talk about it later. But I do have that complete in box on GBA. I have some Gundam game on Game Boy called SD Gundam Gaiden. I have a Nintendogs that we did not get here in North America. It has I think it's like Shiba Inus or something. Nintendogs Shiba Inu. But it has a freaking corgi in it, Hannah, and I love corgis so much.
Aww. Hey, fun fact about that dog name? Inu in Japanese just means dog, so it's just a Shiba dog.
Shibu dog.
Yep. Oh, you know what? I also think I have oh gosh, what is it? What's the dungeon crawling Pokemon game?
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
There it is. I also have one of those, a PAL version of those.
From Goodwill or what?
From Goodwill, the same trip.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Can't play it though, so you know.
I have a PS2 Taiko no Tatsujin game, Spring Festival. That's basically a Namco title where you beat on a drum. It's a rhythm game. I don't think... Yeah, I'm like 100% sure we didn't get that here. I got Super Trench Attack. It was like sent to me on Nintendo Switch by one of these limited print companies. So that was super cool. Have not played that one.
Oh.
And
speaking of, I have a bunch of super rare games. I have a bunch of super rare games that I totally forgot about. That's but yeah, they're all PAL. Gosh, yeah. I have a bunch. Shout out to super rare games.
Do you still get games from them?
You have to like, they email me every time a new release comes out, like a day before, so I actually like get to know what the game is. But you have to like still apply for it. You have to be like, hey, I'm interested in this game, I'll promote it, blah blah blah. And I'm not really that active on Instagram right now, so I feel like a sham if I do that,
A sham. Yeah, that's cool though. The last one I'm going to mention is Rayman 3 on PC. Obviously, we got that here, but there is one version that came with a controller, a USB controller. Actually, I don't think it was USB. I don't think USB was a big popular thing when this game came out, but it is a controller for your PC. And yeah, super cool.
That does sound
European exclusive. There is so much awesome Rayman stuff that came out in France that we just did not get here because because Ubisoft is a European company.
Oh, that makes sense. I was about to say, what is up with Ubisoft in France?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Yeah, I think their headquarters in Montpellier. I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Wow. Very cool.
Okay. Meat of the episode for real this time. Foreign games. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Foreign games that we want to see brought to North America, or things that we just wish would have come out in North America originally. We're going to talk about retro games, modern games, and everything in between.
Very nice. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure. You know what? Never mind. I do have some modern games on this list, so never mind.
You better have modern games on this list after you, enforced it.
Well, you don't want to make the question, you don't want to skew the results here and ask a question a very specific way. But most of mine are retro, so. But anyway, yeah. I only had a few in mind when I was looking up these topics, but, the more I researched, the more I found, and I was like, wow, I really want this one. It's like, wow, this one would be really fun to have. Why didn't we get this? And then it just kind of spiraled from there. I just kept finding ones that I want.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to make an order on some imports soon. I'm very intrigued by a lot of the games on my list.
So I didn't want them before we started researching for this, but now I absolutely am adamant that I need them.
Well, why don't you go first?
Okay, so these are in no particular order, just kind of the order that I found them. So first is Nora and the Time Studio, The Witch of the Misty Forest.
Definitely never heard of it.
Yeah, well, it's a very long title, which is very typical of Japanese games and anime. Anyway, it's an RPG published by Atlus in Japan in 2011 on the DS. People say it's Atlus's version of the Atelier games. Atelier, Atelier. I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but it's the really.
I have.
There's a gajillion of them. The cute little anime characters on the front. I've actually played one of them. I don't remember which one. It was on the PS3.
You just described every Atlus game ever by saying that.
Yeah, but it's really cutesy. It's the girl is on front and she's really cutesy and super super Japanese, super anime. Which I guess there's different styles. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I've actually played one of the Atelier games. I don't remember it very fondly, but I didn't play it for very long, and that was before I really got into RPGs. That was way pre Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so I was very sheltered. I just liked my Marios and my Zeldas and my Pokemons, and that was it. But anyway, the Atelier games are the main concept of the game is to explore the world, gather items and ingredients for recipes and stuff. And in typical RPG fashion, there's recipes for armor and tools, and the more things you collect and the further you go, the better they get. Blah blah blah. The main theme of the game is alchemy. And there is time management, which is you only have a certain amount of things you can do in the day, and so you really have to prioritize what you want. Do you want to, I don't know, grow this tree over there in the corner, or go explore or whatever. So that's the main aspect. So this game, Nora and the Time Studio, is very similar to this, except for it's a cool time mechanic. It's not necessarily going backwards or forwards through time. I think it's so if you have a loaf of bread, you can manipulate the time, kind of like the time stone, and you can make it revert back to ingredients. So instead of a loaf of bread, it goes back to flour, eggs, water, blah 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 blah. Or you can do the same thing, cool. And you can push time forward, so you can have a seed grow into a tree. So that's kind of the main time mechanic. That's why it's called the Time Studio. So yeah, the story of the game, they said, is actually really kind of dark and kind of mature, not bloody or gore or anything, but this witch. Her name is Nora, and she lives in the forest. And apparently everyone's like scared of her because she's like into witchcraft and stuff. So they're like really like mean to her, and she has to face like a lot of prejudice, which I think is just kind of interesting added. Like, oh, this isn't necessarily for kids kind of game. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. The style is very reminiscent of like every DS game at the time. It was very bright, pixelated. Kind of looks like Pokemon, but honestly looks a lot better in my opinion. Just, I think it has a better art style. And, yeah, that's pretty much it for the first one.
That sounds freaking awesome.
I know. And there is a fan translation available out there somewhere, because I saw it. I just didn't want to click on any links, you know. But yeah, that's my first one. And it's, I'm sure it's pretty not cheap, because it's Atlas. But who knows? Games are always cheaper in Japan for whatever reason.
I wonder how popular this is. Like, honestly, if you've heard of this game, drop a comment, because I would like to know.
Mm-hmm. Same. And sell it to me for cheap.
Yeah, we're going to have to start looking at, like, Yahoo Auctions is where people get a lot of import games. It's like, you can't... It's in Japanese, which sucks, but...
Not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, not for you. We'll shop together.
Yeah, okay. Your turn.
This one, I would love to start with this one. It is the game that I have always wanted to own imported, and I have actually done some shopping on Yahoo Auctions for it. It's called Seiken Densetsu 3 Trials of Mana, as we know it here in North America.
Dude, I knew this was going to be your first one. I was like, there's no way he's not going to have this on his list.
Heck yeah. Yeah, figured we'd start with one that everybody knows and loves. This is a Square title from 1995. Never left Japan until recently. It was the sequel to Secret of Mana, Seiken Densetsu 2. It is very similar to its prequel. Top-down action RPG. Instead of 3-player co-op, it offered 2-player co-op, despite having a party of 3. I don't understand why they did that. Yeah, very strange. This game allows you to actually choose your characters from the beginning instead of being assigned 3. So I've played the remake of this game and I've played the original now, so I've got it pretty nailed down in my mind. But there are 6 total characters. You choose 3, and the main story will follow like whichever character you choose first. That offers like huge replayability for this game. Secret of Mana was my first real RPG, so this game was like a must-have, must-play for me, and yeah, love this game. But yeah, Secret of Mana, one of my favorites. Trials of Mana, just as good, I would say. Maybe even a little better, Hannah.
Better.
Yeah, I'm unsure if other action RPGs are like this. You can tell me if you've ever heard of this, but you have to pause the game to activate your magic. Is that a common thing?
Not in anyone that I've ever played, no.
Could just be like an earlier game thing, because this is a mid-90s game, but yeah, you have to... I don't know. I'm not fond of it if you're playing multiplayer, because like your freaking partner is pausing the game every 5 seconds to activate a spell. It's like, okay, like, can you take it easy so I can swing my sword at this dude? But when you're playing by yourself, it's not too bad. There is a class switching system, so you upgrade your character immensely, and you get to choose like which direction they go with. So basically, like, if you get to like, I think level 18, you get to change your class, quote unquote, for the first time, and you can kind of decide, like, do you want your character to go more towards attack and less defense, more like positive on the healing magic, or more on the attacking magic. I'm not sure if that is a common thing in RPGs.
That is a very common thing.
Yeah.
Especially for like MMOs. I've never played any where it's like in an actual like console one, but that's very, very common in MMOs for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so that's kind of it for the gameplay. The game did get an English fan translation in 1999, and yeah, repros of this game were sold all over the place for Super Famicom and Super Nintendo. Like, since I've been collecting, I've seen them all over the place for sure. This is a very popular repro. The game finally got a North American release in 2019's Collection of Mana for the Nintendo Switch.
Hey, I have that.
This released... Yes, you do. The game released in Japan in 2017, the collection, and it definitely did not seem like we were going to get the game here, which just kind of like blew my mind. I remember being really upset about that, because we were getting the remake. They announced the Trials of Mana remake before they announced the Collection of Mana.
I remember that. Everyone was like, oh, man, really?
So yeah, that was super annoying. I'm really glad that we did end up getting it. I did end up playing the remake before I even owned Collection of Mana. But I do think, pretty good choice by Square to release that game ahead of the launch of the remake, just to get a little hype around the series or whatever. But other than that, I wrote down an article in Next Generation magazine in 1996 said that Square's USA division canceled the release because there was too many bugs to be fixed in a timely manner. That seems like a really lame excuse to me, but I can understand it because it was 1996, which means the N64 was already coming out, so I don't know. It's one of those things where the game would have just... Like, if it really did have a ton of bugs and it was going to take forever, it could have been as late as 1997, and yeah, didn't really make sense to release the game at that point.
Yep. Makes sense.
Though the game is 2-player, I did find out that there is a ROM hack that allows you to play the game with 3 players, and yeah, requires the Super Nintendo multi-tap. So that's interesting.
I don't even know what that is.
That's all I got. You don't know what it is?
Mm-mm.
It's just an adapter that allows you to use more than 2 players on the console.
Oh, I didn't know there was a fancy name for it. Interesting. Cool. Alright, so my second one is called Marvelous Another Treasure Island, which is obviously the English name. This game released for the Super Famicom in 1996. It was the first title directed by Eiji Aonuma, so it's got to make the list. Published by Nintendo. This game is said to be based on The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Aonuma said he wanted to work on a Zelda game ever since he played A Link to the Past. And because of this game, it was actually made possible. Who recruited him? I think it was Miyamoto recruited him. Specifically, I think, because of his work on this game, so that was pretty cool. This game uses the same engine as A Link to the Past.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And so this was Aonuma's, introduction. I guess he didn't work for Nintendo at the time, I don't think. Maybe he did. Yeah, strike that. He did. He totally did. Anyway, gameplay. As you play... Wow, let me start again. Because there's so many typos in this, it's not even funny. Okay. So you play as a group of children, Dion, Max, and Jack. They're all given English names. As they seek out a treasure rumored to have been left behind by pirates, which is guarded by puzzles and monsters. So it's basically like a Blackbeard tale, once there was a pirate and he had a bunch of treasure and then he died, he buried it. Story like that. This game is a top-down viewpoint, very much like A Link to the Past and other Super Nintendo and Super Famicom games of the time. While you explore the world around you, there's a cursor that you use to interact with objects around you, and a pop-up window will come up whenever the player encounters a person or object that they can interact with. So basically, it's kind of like a point-and-click kind of gameplay there, but also it's like action-adventure. And then the window gives players choices on what to do, like talk or read or pick up items or whatever it is they interact with. And it looks very, very, very similar. Aonuma said he made it so similar to Zelda because he was so inspired by it, but he wanted it to kind of coattail on the back of it. Zelda did really well, and it looks like this, and look at this game. It looks exactly like it. Fun facts about the game. The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, which came out on the 3DS, is said to be a spiritual successor to this game, which I didn't know, and actually kind of makes me like that game a little bit more.
That's awesome.
Yep, and then the 3 main characters that I mentioned earlier, Dion, Max, and Jack, are actually unlockable spirits in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So if you've ever seen those spirits and you're like, who the heck are those? Came from this game.
I love finding out about things like that. Like, oh, this game I've never heard of. It's published by Nintendo. Oh, I have seen that assist trophy before. You know what I mean?
Yep. So I thought that was super cool. Had to make the list after I found that out.
That's awesome. Sounds like a very Hannah game to play.
Yeah, especially because it's Zelda. Ish.
All right. I mentioned this one. It is Kururin on the Game Boy Advance. Came out in March 2001. And I mentioned that I would talk about this later and that I did something stupid. I bought the Japanese release for some reason, even though it came out in Europe as well. So now I have a game that I cannot read, that I could have bought, that I could have read. Needless to say, I have not played through this game myself yet. But yeah, it was developed by Eighting, E-I-G-H-T Ing, published by Nintendo. This is another scenario where you look at this and you're like, oh my gosh, I've seen that assist trophy before. Gameplay. Okay, the reason I bought this game is because like I've seen how freaking awesome it is on YouTube. It is a really tough puzzle game. You control a spinning rod, and it's like, just imagine a top-down view of a helicopter. That's kind of what you're staring at, and you're moving through mazes, trying to not touch walls, not crash into walls, and you control the speed of this quote-unquote helicopter. You have 3 different speeds, and the catch is that it's always spinning, right? So you constantly have to maneuver through tight corners and small corridors, whatever. You can control the speed, like I said. Hitting a wall makes you lose 1 of your 3 precious hearts, because I say precious because it is a tough game, apparently. And there are health recharge stations in each level. Each level has a spray paint can that can be picked up, which will allow you to change the color of your quote-unquote helicopter.
Cool.
There is a 4-player mode, which I thought sounded pretty intense, honestly. Like, racing through these levels that are already pretty hard, I could see that making my palms sweaty for sure.
That sounds super fun, though. Super competitive, for sure.
So yeah, get yourself a couple of friends with a copy of this Japanese or European game and a link cable, and you're good to go. So the North American debut for this game wouldn't be until 2016 when it came to the Wii U Virtual Console. And I actually did not know that. Like, kind of wish I went and bought that instead of the Japanese box.
Wow, wow.
So the Hellerin is the name of the helicopter, and it does appear as an assist trophy in Smash, like I said. There were 2 sequels to this game that would come out, and I don't think I knew about either one. So I've had a blast researching for this video. But the first one, Kururin Paradise 2002, came out on the Game Boy Advance. It was more of the same, but it was a little bit harder because they upped the speed. This game had actually been announced for a North American release, and then it never happened. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. It was also planned for a Chinese release for the IQ Game Boy Advance, and that never happened either. The other sequel is much more interesting, called Kururin Squash, with an exclamation point at the end, released in 2004 for the GameCube. So this was the first console title. It actually kept the 2D mechanics, but moved to 3-dimensional graphics, of course. The field of vision increased dramatically because it was actually on a big TV screen instead of a handheld. And I just feel like this is the type of game where you want to be able to see everything. It added a bunch of new mechanics and power-ups. Instead of just spinning around in the regular Hellerin, there are more ships. I read that one of them has boxing gloves on the ends to knock out enemies, which sounds
Nice.
fun. The game is seen as much easier than its predecessors due to all of these power-ups. There are 40 levels in total, and I saw that there is a lousy matching bonus minigame that can be played when you connect your GBA console to the GameCube.
Why lousy?
Just because it's matching, right? Because, like, matching is boring, probably.
Oh, I like matching.
No, you don't, Hannah. What?
Sure do.
What do you got?
Okay, my third one is Terra Enigma, and it's a RPG, came out in Japan and Europe, but not the United States. Came out in 1995 in Japan, 1996 in Europe, for the SNES and the Super Famicom. It was developed by Quintet. They're responsible for games like Illusion of Gaia and Soul Blazer, which I did not know until researching for this. And it says just a little bit more on Quintet. It says Wiki said that the company is defunct and hasn't been active since the 2000s, but they also had a good relationship with Enix at the time, not to be confused with Square Enix. This is before they were incorporated with Square, but so many people just think that company just kind of got absorbed into it, or, you know, people left Quintet and just went to Enix. Just a little fun fact. Published by Enix, and Nintendo later localized it and released it in English, French, German, Spanish, to be released in Europe and Australia. But not here. So, there are English copies, they do exist, but it's like the PAL versions. Which is fine, except for the fact that, you know, the PAL version of the SNES and the American version of the SNES are not the same.
Yeah.
So you either have to get a PAL version SNES, or there do exist. There are American like SNES cartridges, but it's like the China like fakey ones, which are fine. I mean, if you like that, I'm sure it plays the game fine. But they do exist. I've seen them. As far as gameplay, the game has a top-down perspective, very much like SNES games of the time, very much a Link to the Past-esque. And has an action-based real-time battle system. The main character has different attacks depending on if you're running, jumping, or attacking, or a combination of all three. And it's supposed to deal damage to different enemies, so like jumping attack does like double damage to this enemy, or like not enough damage to this enemy, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Very RPG-esque stuff. And like any RPG, you gain experience, enemies leave behind items. The more items you get, the more powerful you are. There's also magic items, but they can only be used once, which I think is kind of weird. Instead of having like a full magic system, like a magic gauge at the bottom of your screen, it's like magic items are going to be used once, and you make them at like a magic blacksmith, like I don't know what they're called, by collecting magic rocks. And as far as the story, I didn't really look too much into it because it is a game that I really want to play, and I didn't want to get like spoiled. But basically, the story is the Earth has been destroyed after billions of years of fighting between God and the devil, which is probably why it didn't come out in America. We're real sensitive at the time. And when the last survivors, Ark, which is the main character you play as, must try to resurrect the planet. Again, this is a religious thing. I'm sure that's probably why it didn't come out in the U.S. And then some fun facts about it. This game is still widely regarded as one of the best action role-playing games of its era. Considered to be an unofficial, like part of an unofficial trilogy with Soul Blazer and Illusion of Gaia, since they were made by like the same people. And how I heard of it, I have that as a category here. This game was actually recommended to me by one of the people who knew that I was playing Ys 3 Wanderers of Ys, which you got me, thank you very much, for the SNES, and he's like, dude, you would totally love this game. You just have to like import it from somewhere. So yeah, it's actually one that I want to play, so I didn't want to look too deeply into it, but definitely one that I'm going to get at some point. Because I love.
It's not out of Nintendo's wheelhouse to throw it on the Switch Online service someday.
That's true, or even put it on the Japanese version of it. So you just have to make like a Japanese account. So yeah, that's very true. Yeah. They do like their RPGs on the NSO. So yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
I hope that works out for you soon. I have Soul Blazer, and I put a couple hours into it, but I've heard Illusion of Gaia is a fantastic game.
Yep, certainly an expensive one too, isn't it?
I don't know. Next up is Pinky and the Brain, the Master Plan for Game Boy Advance. I love this show as a kid, and yeah, I haven't watched it recently, but I did love me some Pinky and the Brain, was a big Cartoon Network kid and a big Animaniacs fan, a big Nickelodeon kid, just cartoons in general. I was all about it. Did you ever watch this show?
I don't think I ever watched this show, but I obviously know what it is. Did you...
Yeah.
This is really random, but did you, when you were really, really young, and I know you're older than me, so it might... Do you remember watching a cartoon about otters called PB&J Otter?
No.
Okay, what about the kids who have, like, different... It's called Rocket League, with, like, skateboards, and they're riding around town.
I absolutely love that you just said Rocket League instead of Rocket Power. I
Oh
am
my God.
dead right now.
I did. Oh, no.
Yeah, I watched the heck out of Rocket Power.
Erase it. Go back. Delete. Yeah, Rocket Power. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, good times.
Pinky and the Brain. So did you ever watch Animaniacs?
I'm sure I have, but that wasn't like on my Saturday morning cartoon. I watched some Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched some Pokemans. Let's see, what else did I watch? There was Code Lyoko. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Yep, I watched a lot of those. Obviously, I've liked Japanese things since the day I was born. But yeah. What about, did you watch Dexter's Laboratory?
Oh, obsessed.
And Powerpuff Girls?
What are you trying to get at, Hannah?
I'm just, wanted to see if you're actually a fan or just a fake fan.
Oh, yeah. If you're actually asking, yeah, I love those shows. And I found out, now that I'm an adult, that those shows were written by the same guy.
Well, yeah, that's not surprising.
It's definitely not surprising. The same dude also wrote Foster's Home, which is another show I freaking love.
I love that one. Heck yeah, man.
So, yeah. Okay. Off topic. Let's get back to Pinky and the Brain, the Master Plan. I honestly have no idea why this game didn't release outside of Europe. First appear. Okay, so a little bit about the TV show in case your name is Hannah or if you haven't seen the show. It is... These characters, Pinky and the Brain, first appeared in Animaniacs. They were a recurring skit in the 1980s? They were a recurring skit starting in 1993 when the show aired. They ended up getting their own spin-off show in 1995, which ran for 4 seasons. Steven Spielberg, I found this was interesting, was actually an executive producer on the show. I did not know that.
That's interesting.
Now that I think about it, I think he was also part of Animaniacs, so that would explain that. Anyways, European exclusive, launched in 2002, developed by Warthog, and published by Swing with an exclamation point Entertainment. This is your typical licensed platformer, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I wish this game came out here so that I could play it. I just want it on my shelf looking pretty with the rest of my games. That's why I wish it was released in North America.
Welcome to the Unlockable podcast, so we just talk about things we want, but are never going to touch.
So it looks like I watched some gameplay and read the typical stuff online about it, but it's mostly just a 2D platformer. There is some random like shmup levels, believe it or not, and even some rhythm game stuff where you are basically playing DDR with Pinky. You're just like, you press left and right and up on the freaking D-pad, so that's probably boring. 16 total levels, and you can switch between both Pinky and the Brain. They both run around with a gun, but Pinky is taller and can jump higher, and Brain can actually inflate his head, which lets him float.
Well, that's why it didn't come out to the U.S. We don't like guns over here.
Fun fact, Pinky and the Brain was set to release on Sega Saturn in 1996 and would have been published by Konami. I've definitely never heard of that one, but yeah, canceled, I guess. And other than the Master Plan, Pinky and the Brain have appeared in World Conquest on PC, which I'm pretty sure, yeah, it definitely released in North America. And they've been in multiple Animaniacs games over the years. That's what I got for Pinky and the Brain, the Master Plan. When I found out that this game existed, I was pretty shook.
Why wouldn't it come out to the U.S.? That seems like such an American thing.
It does.
Very strange. Oh, marbles. Oh, marvelous.
I think I will pick that game up at some point, though. I just need it on the shelf.
I just want to look at it. Okay, my turn?
Yeah.
So these next three are very much related. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but the first one is freshly picked Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land. I cannot believe I just got that right without messing it up. Anyway, it was released in Japan in 2006 for the DS, in Europe in 2007, but never made it to the US. Possibly because Tingle didn't really have a favorable reception over here. I mean, to be honest, he's kind of creepy. Especially once I read all these things about him. Also, possibly because it has a more, like, mature kind of sexual themes than most other Nintendo published games, which, like I said, we figured out when I start describing things. So, this is actually an action-adventure game / RPG kind of deal. So, Tingle, if you don't know, he's shown up several times in the Legend of Zelda series. I believe he first showed up in Majora's Mask, and then I think Wind Waker he showed up, but don't quote me on that one. Anyway, he's actually
in there, yeah.
I think he's actually a middle-aged man, like a 35-year-old man, and they make sure to state that in like all the summaries. And he's dressed in a green fairy suit, and he's got like really rosy red cheeks. Kind of weird. Anyway, he's offered a life in a paradise called Rupee Land, and is told to gather as many rupees as he can so that he can get into Rupee Land. So basically the point of the game is just to explore the world, explore dungeons, kill enemies, and get rupees. And then you'd be permitted to get into Rupee Land. So, yeah. Do you want me to read all of the Tingle-related ones? There's 2 more. They're short.
Yeah, go for it. Okay,
so the next one is Tingle's Balloon Fight, which is, again, Tingle-themed, but instead of like being an actual Tingle-themed game, it's basically just balloon fight with Tingle instead of the other balloon guy. It was exclusive to Club Nintendo members in Japan, and is a, like I just said, Tingle-themed balloon fight for the NES. I'm sure you've played that game, right?
I have not played it. I know what it is.
You've not played that? Pfft, neither have I, but... There are 3 modes in this game. There's single-player balloon fight, multiplayer balloon fight, and there's also a mode called Balloon Trip, where the player controls Tingle as he navigates obstacles and collects rupees, so it's a little more in-depth. And then the third one really creeped me the hell out, and it's called Ripened Tingle's Balloon Trip of Love. It's a sequel to Rosy Rupee Land, but instead of rupees and money being the theme of the game, it's women. Yeah, so the game starts off, Tingle, again, 35-year-old man, just a normal 35-year-old man watching TV. And then I think he sees a commercial or something for like a book, and it's on sale from like 35 yen to like 2 yen. And he's like, oh, I gotta get that book. And when he opens the book to read it, he's transported into another world, and he becomes Tingle, the creepy man with the rosy red cheeks and the green leotard fairy guy. The goal of the game and the only way to escape this book is to dance with the princess of this world, which seems innocent enough, right? There's some Wizard of Oz inspired characters. There's a scarecrow, a tin woman, and can you guess the last one?
A lion?
A lion! You did it! All have different abilities and help you traverse the world. With their different abilities. The main gameplay in this game is to form romantic connections with the female characters. Tingle has to raise the girl's affection of him by honestly doing some really weird, like, love mechanic thing that I didn't really want to talk about because it's just weird. This game makes use of the stylus and almost entirely a point-and-click adventure game. So yeah, no wonder why that one didn't come over here. Even I'm creeped out about it. But apparently it's... Go ahead.
No reason to believe that this one is leaving its region at any point.
Nah, it'll forever be locked on Japan, and that's fine. They can have it. As much as I love Zelda games, I don't like Tingle. I've never liked Tingle.
None of them came to Europe?
I believe Rosy Rupee Land did. The other ones did not.
Okay.
Yeah, the other ones, Balloon Fight and Trip of Love, were all Japan exclusive.
The balloon trip of love sounds very Japanese.
Yeah. Not for me, man. Not for me.
I also found out about the balloon fight being a Club Nintendo exclusive when I was doing research, and I thought that was awesome.
That is
must
super
be
awesome.
very uncommon. Would love to have that.
You'd love to have the love one? I'll get it for you.
No, the middle one. Shut up, bro.
Okay, next.
Let's do Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Possibly, definitely a top 5 most like wanted game here in this country for sure. People love this game. And yeah, it was a PC Engine CD release in Japan only in 1993. It was the 10th Castlevania game, which kind of surprised me, but kind of makes sense when you think about it. This is one of the best Castlevania titles. Like, everybody agrees it's like one of the top 2, top 3. Everybody loves this game. You play as Richter Belmont, and Maria Renard becomes a playable character later on. It is like one of the last 2D games before they started going, like 2D platform, I don't know. I call a lot of things platformers, and I don't know if that's right, but it's a 2D side-scrolling action adventure platformer game, right? So all of those things. Anyways, people know what Castlevania is. It's one of the last ones that's like that before they switched all their games to being like Metroidvanias. And yeah, not only is it region locked, it was region locked to a console that, like, you know, it's an NEC console, the PC Engine. Not everybody had a Turbo Graphics over here, so it just has a lot going against it. But anyways, more on the gameplay. 9 levels. There are 4 alternate paths. The whip is your main weapon, and you have 6 sub-weapons that are definitely not foreign to people who have played other Castlevania games. Dagger, Holy Water, Grimoire, Pocket Watch, Axe, and Cross. And yeah. One of the interesting things about this game is that it was remade and released in North America as Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. So this game is like apparently awful. People love to freaking roast it. It's like kind of a remake and kind of not. It's always confused me until I finally like sat down and looked at what the differences are. Basically, it uses some of the graphics and gameplay features from Rondo of Blood, but completely changes a whole lot about it, and I'll just leave it at that for now. But the game was remade again in 2008 for the PSP, and it's like a 2.5D game. So again, not exactly what people like were always wanting. I think for a long time people were just craving straight up Rondo of Blood, and Konami was not delivering to North America. The game finally did come out in 2010 on the Wii Virtual Console. Did you ever buy games on the Wii Virtual Console?
Absolutely not. To be honest, I don't even know if I knew it existed when I had my Wii. Like when I first got my Wii.
Oh, man. I freaking lived on the Shop Channel. I love that stuff. But, yeah, so, like, the Shop Channel had import games, and they would always charge, like, so you could only put, like, increments of $10 into your Nintendo account back on the Wii days. And, you know, they would make these import games some weird number, like $8 or $9. So you would always be left with $1 or $2 in your account. And it's like, what the heck, Nintendo? Like, anyways.
They did it on
I
purpose,
distinctly
so you had to
remember
keep
that.
putting more on.
Yeah, absolutely. The game is available now on the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, which released a few years ago. And it also released digitally on PS4 with Symphony of the Night in 2018, which was under the title Castlevania Requiem, PS4 digital exclusive. The 2 most beloved games, for sure. 2 most beloved Castlevania games on one, like, $20 purchase. It is pretty crazy.
Not gonna lie, every time you talk about Castlevania, I just get them so confused.
Yeah, can't even blame you for that.
I'm like, oh, which one is that one again? Oh, yeah, it's on the PSP. Okay. Which one's that one? Oh, yeah, it got re-released, but then remastered on the PlayStation 4, but then blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, God.
There are so many games for Castlevania, for sure. Something we talked about several episodes ago, probably back in October. The Turbo Duo is the name of like the PC Engine CD here in North America. We got the Turbo Duo. Obviously, it most likely didn't come to America because the Turbo Duo wasn't super successful. But what we did talk about a few episodes ago, Limited Run Games is releasing a playable Turbo Graphics CD version of the game. I think I messed that up. So it's not called the Turbo Duo here. It's called the Turbo Graphics CD. But yeah. Anyways, in 2022, they are releasing a TurboGrafx CD game for, like, it is actually playable on the original hardware, which is mind-blowing. I don't think these have actually shipped and are in people's hands yet, but the fact that they are finally releasing Rondo of Blood in North America on original hardware is pretty insane.
Man, say what you will about limited run games. They really do listen to people.
Yeah, I talk a lot of trash personally about them, but honestly, they are a pretty cool company to be around.
They're pretty neat, not gonna lie. My turn?
Alright. Yeah.
Alright, my next one is, I've talked about this so many times, this series at least, and then what series derived off of it, but it's the Monogatari series, which is it's the origins of the spin-off game Puyo Puyo. You remember this one, right?
Yeah.
So, series is pretty much only released in Japan. It's a first-person dungeon crawler role-playing game by Compile, and Compile is the development team behind the Puyo Puyo games. Actually, the Musha game on Genesis, which I found out after doing this research, and the Genesis version of Ghostbusters.
What was the first one? Lucia?
Musha, the Genesis game.
Oh, Musha.
Musha.
Oh,
Musha,
wow.
Musha. And also Godzilla on the Game Boy. Just among the ones that stood out to me. And then the company was eventually absorbed into Sega, which is why Puyo Puyo is a Sega game. And specifically, I wanted to talk about just one of the releases, because there's a whole bunch, but I didn't necessarily think we need to talk about all of them. It's Maro Monogatari Hanmaru Dai Yuchienji, which I'm going to break this down for you a little bit. So Maro means like path of evil, or like an evil path. Monogatari means like a story or a tale. And the whole title together is like the story of an evil path, or like evil path story, big kindergarten kids. So it doesn't sound very nice over here. And it came out on the Super Famicom. So gameplay, this game it drops the first person view of the original, the other games in the Maro Monogatari series. So basically, that was just like a screen. There's like the cute little girl to the right, and then there's like text down there at the bottom, and it is a first person, and it's kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's not 3D, obviously, it's very 2D, but you're kind of just, like, I assume you just kind of, like, press the D-pad forward, and the screen just kind of, like, changes to emulate you walking down the hallway, but it's, like, not moving. It's just kind of like flash, 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 flash. You know what I'm saying?
I'm trying to know what you're saying, yeah.
It's just think about it being really technically limited, and you're not actually, like, walking around a space. It's, like, so picture you're at the door, right? And it's the animation of you through the door, right? And then the next animation is you 5 steps, and then 5 steps, and then 5 steps, and then 5 steps.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So it drops that pretty much completely. But other than that, the gameplay mechanics is very similar. In this game, you're still exploring dungeons, but it's more akin to like the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom games of the time, so just imagine that in your head. It's not 3D, but you're moving around in 3 dimensions, kind of like the Mana games. It's not a 3D game, but you can move up, down, left, right, instead of just side-scrolling. You explore dungeons and fight enemies, but the enemy encounters are random while you're traversing the dungeon, so they just kind of like pop up. And when you're fighting the enemies, it's turn-based. And it's 2D. Very much like the Paper Mario is turn-based. Let's see. There are puzzles in the dungeon, which are very Zelda-like, and the enemies that you fight, there's a bunch of them, but the Puyos are like the big ones. That's kind of where they came from, the spin-off. There are puzzles that you have to solve as you go through the dungeon. They're not particularly difficult, but they're there. You can buy and equip rings and accessories found when playing the game, which give you special abilities, which give you advantages when you're traversing the dungeons. Enemies are fought in 2D, like I said. But there's no physical attacks, it's only magic. And the hit points are not displayed. You kind of just have to guess. Use your own intuition.
Yeah.
So the story, Arle, A-R-L-E, the main character, is a 5-year-old apprentice. So I guess the kindergarten thing makes sense now. Is a 5-year-old apprentice magician who is attending a special kindergarten, and one day she receives a letter that tells her if she can collect 8 stones, she'll be granted 1 wish. It's very strange. So the main objective of this game is to collect the 8 gemstones hidden around the world. Fun facts, this game is kind of a retelling of the original Monogatari series, because the story is so similar. It's not exactly, but it's very similar. So the protagonist is a 5-year-old. It's quite an adventure for a 5-year-old. But yeah.
I mean, at 5 years old, I'm trying to picture it. If I was given the task of finding 8 stones and I could have any wish that I wanted, I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, right. Yep. Next.
Oh, that was very cool. What console was that?
They've had several releases, like a lot of them released on Sega consoles because it was so close related to Sega, but this one specifically was on the Super Famicom.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought you were going to start talking to me about a foreign exclusive Puyo Puyo game at first.
They're definitely out there. But no. That would have been very fun.
More Super Famicom goodness. I have Super Bomberman 3, 4, and 5. So, supposedly the reason these never came to us here in North America is because Hudson USA shut down. I guess that's a pretty good reason.
That is the ultimate reason.
I mean, they were still making games, right? Like in Japan, I don't know. I guess they didn't want to manufacture them over here. Anyways, these 3 are all pretty similar, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time going through each one. They have minor additions as they progress. The 3rd one did release in Europe and Japan in 1995. Majority of the music was remixed. Well, okay, let me just, in case someone has not played Bomberman, you basically walk around and drop bombs to destroy your enemies, and that's Bomberman in a nutshell. Yeah, seriously, if you haven't played Bomberman, check it out. Excellent series. I mean, that was a dumbed down version of what you do, but that's pretty much it. It's notorious for its multiplayer, and all of these games have 5-player multiplayer with the multi-tap. So
that's cool.
Okay, so Bomberman 3 released in Europe and Japan. Majority of the music was remixed from older Bomberman games. Graphics look more like the older PC Engine games than the first 2 Super Bombermans did. It has single or co-op campaign. Might I highlight the co-op campaign part? I would love to play some co-op Super Bomberman for sure. 5-player multiplayer, like I said, and lots of new characters added to this game. Something interesting they did was make each character represent a country. There was a bomber named Pretty who represented France, for instance.
Pretty? Huh. What are we, fat, lazy, violent? Sorry. Continue.
Super Bomberman 4. So 4 and 5 were only released in Japan. Hudson was like you'll notice this was 95, 96, and then 97. So like you can only imagine how similar these games must be. But at the same time, Hudson was churning out some quality titles in the 90s and just back to back to back. So again, single or co-op campaign, 5-player multiplayer. Something new from this game was there were lots of new creatures, enemy creatures, that could be turned into eggs after you defeat them, and after you hatch their eggs, they become your ally. So,
like Yoshi.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's interesting.
Super Bomberman 5 was released in 97 only in Japan. Same thing, single or co-op campaign, 5-player multiplayer. This one seems super cool. There was a non-linear aspect to the campaign. You can choose your own path, and each exit will take you to a different level. So there was a lot of reason to go back and play the game, especially because completing all of the levels to 100% will earn you a new game mode called Encore Mode. You could earn Golden Bomber to play as in battle mode, and you would get a random game altering password. I couldn't find any information on that. I don't really know what that means, but that sounds freaking awesome.
Cool. I get a password? A secret password? It's like having a key but don't know what it unlocks.
Unlockables. So the game was sold in a standard gray cartridge, as you might expect, but my favorite fact about this is Super Bomberman 2 in Japan and Super Bomberman 5 had a Koro Koro comic book magazine promo where you could order a gold cartridge version of the game. How freaking awesome is that?
That's awesome.
I want that.
That's gotta be rare as heck.
That's what I was thinking. They're actually on eBay for a few $100s, so not impossible to find, I guess. I think Bomberman was really popular in the 90s.
But expensive. So owie.
I imagine a lot of people were ordering that, but yeah. I also wrote that the Super Famicom boxes, like just Super Famicom boxes in general, I think are really cool. They're kind of like VCR, like VHS tapes. But these have really awesome artwork and definitely need to have these on the shelf one day.
Not to play, just to look at.
For sure.
All right, my turn?
Your turn.
Okay, so you mentioned this one earlier, but thank God you didn't go into that much detail. So the next one I have is Taiko no Tatsujin series. So that's what you said. The beating of the drum. I don't know if this one technically counts, but I'll explain it just in case you don't know. It's a series of rhythm games created by Namco where the instrument is a taiko drum and the player hits the drum to emulate the notes in the game. Many of these games are only released in Japan, but there are localized versions of some of them in English, Chinese, and Korean. So specifically, I wanted to point out Drum and Fun, which is exclusive for the Switch, released in Japan, Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea in 2018. It is the first game in the series to ever have been localized for North America for over a decade. Which I guess that means that 10 years ago was?
That's crazy.
First official release in Europe and Australia, available in the US, but only digitally. So Europe and Japan have the cool bundle with the drum, and they're just like, nah, Americans don't need the drum. So, I don't know why we didn't get the drum. But I would like the drum very much because what do I just beat the screen or press buttons? That's no fun when I'm playing on my Switch. The other one is Rhythmic Adventure Park, which is a re-release of Rhythm Adventure 1 and 2. Again, digital in the US, but physical in Japan. So...
super lame.
It is super lame. That's all I got, but I love my rhythm games.
Yeah, I think we need a revival of Guitar Hero, like ASAP, honestly, and Rock Band.
So bad. That game was so fun. Sucks that we don't get one. But
I have another triple one here. So, have you ever seen the anime Soul Eater?
No, but I have heard of it.
Okay, that is more than most people can say, I think. I watched this anime last year, I believe, and really enjoyed it. And honestly, what I've been doing as I'm watching new animes is trying to see what games came out for them. And a lot of times they end up being Japanese exclusives, which is lame.
All the time. I have so many anime games that I want, but they never come over here. And guess what? All the freaking platforms that I want to play them on are all region locked. So I'd have to get a freaking Japanese PS2 or a Japanese this, Japanese that. Sucks. Continue.
Okay, so I could technically play at least one of these. Maybe, I don't remember which consoles are region locked off the top of my head, but yeah. Soul Eater was a pretty good anime. It wasn't, I don't know, I liked it more than the average amount, I would say. I give it like an 8 out of 10. It was pretty good. There are 3 home console games, and for once, something I hate about anime games is that they're always fighting games. This is not the case here for 2 of them, so that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to play Street Fighter with every anime I've ever watched. Like, I'm just...
Yeah.
It seems like they always end up being freaking
Especially the ones
fighters.
that come over here, they're all fighters.
Yeah. Okay, so Soul Eater Monotone Princess came out on the Wii, developed and published by Square Enix in 2008. It appears to me to be a hack and slashy beat 'em up type of game. It's got heavy use of the motion controls, and honestly, it's probably not an amazing game, but it did create its own story arc and kind of fits into the anime / manga, so I think that's neat. It's like bonus content for someone to, like for me to absorb because I'm into the anime, and I think it's cool that they branched off a little bit. So definitely would love to play that someday. Probably will never get ported.
Yeah, sorry. I think that ship has sailed like 10 years ago when the anime came out.
And what's weird about it is fans made an English patch that just released in 2021. I don't think this anime is super popular, so the fact that there's a patch coming out for it is pretty crazy.
That's cool.
They also made a full English walkthrough.
Even
Next
better.
up was Soul Eater Medusa's Plot, which was a DS title. This one interests me the least for sure. DS graphics just look awful by design. This game is no exception. I mentioned A-Ting earlier. They developed Kururin, and yeah, they developed this game as well, and it was published by Bandai. This game makes good use of the touch screen, and attacks are done by making various motions with the stylus. I say it's like the one that interests me the least. I think it looks kind of like childish and easy and boring. I don't know. It doesn't look like an excellent game to me personally. But I did find out there was a little keychain skateboard from one of the main characters that was available with pre-order bonus, so that was neat. And once again, a fan translation released just last year for this title.
Give it up for the fans, man. Fans are the best.
Give it up for the fans. Third one here, Soul Eater Battle Resonance. Now, that one just sounds like a fighter, and that's because it is. It released for the PS2 and the PSP in 2009. Developed by Beck and published by Bandai. Yeah, fighting game. Looks fun. Graphics are solid. I'm sure, like when it comes to fighting games, you really have to, put in a lot of time to become really good at them, and I don't know. I'm not interested in playing a fighting game until I become really good at it. So I would totally play the story mode and then never play it again, for sure.
And then never touch it again.
Graphics are solid, like I said. It has an arcade mode, adventure mode, versus all the typical fighting game modes. I believe both versions supported online multiplayer, and I would assume local multiplayer as well, but there is not a ton of information out there for a lot of the games, actually, that I was researching. But, yeah, this one does not create its own story arc. It follows one from the anime, which is still cool. So, I never had anything like this. Like, I guess I was young in, this game came out in 2009. I was, 13, so pre-order bonuses for games, they used to come out with a disc for your PC. Probably not in 2009. This one did, but it definitely was happening earlier, probably late 90s, early 2000s, that you would get a disc for your PC and you would get freaking desktop wallpapers and other stuff for your PC. And this game came with a little scythe cursor and a little clock for your PC, and it was inspired by the anime, which pretty interesting to look back on now.
I wonder how many of those actually are left in the world.
Yeah, for real. You just kind of install that on your PC and then throw it in the trash. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
And last thing I gotta mention, the fan translation released less than 2 weeks ago. Like, what a coincidence.
Wow. There's one person working on all of them.
Alright, that's all I got for Soul Eater.
Okay, my next one is actually one that I kind of totally forgot existed until you texted me. But it's Ys 5 Lost Kefin or Keflin? I think it's Kefin. Kingdom of Sand. And like I've said before, the Ys series is just very confusing. This isn't even the most confusing one. If you want to go to 4, that the development of that is just I couldn't even tell you what was going on in there. Anyway, this is the 5th one. It's the 5th game in the Ys series, obviously. It's an action role-playing game for the Super Famicom, released in 1995. It was also remade on the PS2 in 2006, but of course all of these are Japan only, which is weird. It's like one of the only ones that's actually never come over here. Don't know why. As far as gameplay, it looks exactly like Ys 3 on the SNES, which I played and absolutely loved. It's got the beautiful and bright pixel art, very typical of Super Nintendo games at the time. Looks like in this game you can move around in 3 dimensions rather than just side-scrolling. Like it wasn't 3, so it's again like Secret of Mana. It's not 3 dimensions, but you can move up, down, left, right, versus just right and left.
I gotcha.
Just like in 3, there is no auto attack, so you have to actually press a button to swing your sword. Adol, who's the main character, the red-haired guy, now has the ability to jump and defend with his shield, which is cool. Always love that jump button. There's also a new magic system introduced, which requires a player to hold a button to charge a spell in order to cast it, rather than just press the button. Story, it's pretty similar to all the other ones. It's just Adol is going on yet another adventure when he hears about a desert city called Kefin, which has mysteriously disappears. So he goes and investigates, and then all of his adventures and cool stuff ensues. And why do I want it? Obviously because I'm set out to play all the Ys games because I love them. If you don't know, I think I've said this before, but they all follow the same character named Adol. That's like the red-haired guy. He's in all of them except for Origins. And I think 1 and 2, which of course I haven't played, because they're on the DS and they're hecka expensive, as most Ys games are. But it's funny that you texted me though, and there are like the cheapy China, like American SNES cartridges of this game, and I even have that saved on eBay, that
search
listing saved on eBay for like a year and a half now, and I just didn't even think about it. And it even comes with like a cool box, but it's like $70, and I'm like, you know what, it's not going anywhere, so I'm not going to pull the trigger yet. But yeah, I've had that saved on eBay for literally years after I started getting into it, and I just totally forgot.
You said $70?
Yeah. The
Wow.
cart, I think, loose is like $35. So I don't know if this is like, I don't know, someone bought this and is trying to resell it, or if it's like, I don't know, some seller, like an actual seller of these games on eBay. Not sure, but whoever's selling it's like $35, I think, for just the cartridge. But there is one that comes with like the box, obviously a fake box. But yeah, that's like $75, $80. Which, it's like, God, I might as well just buy a cheapy one from, what is it called, AliExpress or something? I'm sure there's like one for like $5. But
that's
yeah.
Cool.
Also, while I was researching this is what I was saying. It's kind of honorable mention, kind of not. But so like I said, the development for Ys 4 it's crazy. At one point, they were running out of money, so they like outsourced the game. But then like they also just continued to develop the game that they were working on, and so it ended up like with 2 different ones. That's why there's the Dawn of Ys, and then there's the Mask of the Sun, which are, it's Ys 4, but there's different games. It's very confusing, and so I didn't want to research necessarily all that. Could probably make a whole podcast about this whole series. Anyway, it was renamed and re-released in the US technically as Ys Memories of Celceta. So it did get released over here, but just many years later on the PS4.
And it's probably
also
different in a lot of ways.
Oh god, yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely remade. It's more 3D graphics. Yeah, I mean, you could say it's essentially the same game, but it's kind of got like the Final Fantasy VII remake kind of touch. And then also, while I was researching, did you know that there was Ys Online MMORPG?
No.
Because I did not. So it was in Japan.
Oh, go ahead.
It was in Japan, and I think it got a beta in Europe, but it never left the beta stage, and of course it never came to the US. It was called Ys Call of Solum, Solum, and we never got it. Isn't that weird? But of course MMOs aren't. Well, you know what? I'm sure they sold a disc of it somewhere. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say that it didn't look very good, though. The graphics were not great.
I know you love your MMOs, Hannah.
I like one of them.
I know you like your MMO, Hannah.
Yeah, I like my one MMO. Yeah, it just takes so long to get into them. I'm not a World of Warcraft person or Final Fantasy 14 or something online.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't get into those. Well, I know that I could, I just don't want to because I know it'll consume my time. I think one is enough for me. But yeah, that's all I got.
Ys 5 is one of the only ones still region locked, or is it the only one? Or you're not sure?
I believe it's the only one, unless you want to count the fourth one as two separate games.
Right.
Yeah. So I believe, yes, it is.
Well, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I think I'm going to save my last one for last, so I'm going to let you go again.
You're going to save your last one for last?
Yeah.
Okay. This one, my last one is the one I was most excited for. Of course, I leave Ys. But this one was just, I had no idea this existed, and this is the one that I want the most. So it's called Dynamic Slash. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
So it's called, let me see if I can get my Norse roots here. It's called Zangeki no Rainleaf. It's the Rainleaf is it's a Norse word, I think. It's spelled Reginleiv instead of F, which basically translates to destruction of Rainleaf, but for whatever reason it was renamed Dynamic Slash in the US, or by US people.
Right.
It's an action game developed by Sandlot, who is a Japanese company who makes Global Defense or the Earth Defense games. Have you heard of those?
I have heard of them,
There's a gajillion of them. This game came out in 2010 on the Wii, only in Japan. Didn't make it over here. So the gameplay is mission-based, where you play as either two warriors and fight hordes of enemies. So it's kind of like hack and slash, but has RPG elements to it. Missions can be completed either in single or four-player co-op, which is cool. Utilizes the motion controls of the Wii remote. Like Skyward Sword, you can actually swing the sword around, and it'll move the sword in game. And then one of the other characters is a range, a magic and a bow user, and you can emulate pulling back the bow with the nunchuck and the remote, which is cool. I think you can also use the Pro. It's not a Pro controller, but it's the actual controller looking one for the Wii. I don't remember what it's called. So yeah, it's got both of those. Freya, you should recognize some of these words, but I'm not going to say anything yet because I have a whole thing about it. But Freya is strong, and she uses the ranged attacks, like I said, with the bow. And then Freyr is a melee-based character who uses the sword. My first thought of this game when I looked it up was it looks super-duper similar to Xenoblade Chronicles, which is why I was super interested in it, which is no coincidence because they use the same company who worked on the designs for both of them. It's called Optimo Graphico in Japan. And they were also coincidentally working on Xenoblade Chronicles at the same time. And then the story. Are you ready for this? This is copy and pasted directly from Wikipedia because I knew I wouldn't be able to do it justice, and this is just so good. So I want to know your thoughts on it.
All right.
And I quote, like I said, this is Norse mythology. But in the world of Midgard, humanity comes under attack from the Jotun, a race imprisoned by the gods of Asgard after a prolonged war. In response to this attack, Asgard dispatches the twin deities Freyr and Freya to aid humanity in defeating the giants. As the battle escalates, it becomes clear that the apocalypse Ragnarok is imminent. Despite their best efforts, Freyr and Freya cannot stop the Jotun's advance. The situation is worsened by the emerging armies of Niflheim and Muspelheim, and the release of 3 demonic weapons created by Loki during an earlier war with the giants. Asgard itself is eventually assaulted, leading to the death of all the gods except Freyr and Freya, followed by the final emergence of the fire Jotun Surtur. The world is left to ruin after Surtur's defeat, but Freya uses her powers to restore the world and humanity. I mean, is it just like the perfect Xenoblade Chronicles / Marvel, Asgard, Loki, Thor kind of freaking crossover ever, or what?
That's pretty epic right there.
So, things to note in the story, I'm sure you recognize them because you're a Marvel fan, but Midgard is like the word for Earth. Jotun, spelled Jotuun, so it's not exactly how it looks. Jotunheim is where the Frost Giants live, which is where Loki originally came from, because, well, spoiler alert, Loki's a frost giant. And then Rainleaf, which I said earlier, is in Norse mythology, it's spelled with an F instead of a V, like in this title. It's a Valkyrie, and we know that Valkyries serve Odin. So yeah, well, this just seemed like so. It's like the ultimate crossover, right? It's a freaking Marvel, Thor, Norse mythology, Odin sphere kind of Xenoblade Chronicles game.
I mean, I'm sure all of these things were around before Marvel made them into movies.
Well, obviously, all that stuff is based on Norse mythology, but like, I probably wouldn't have cared about Norse mythology had it not been for Marvel. But
absolutely,
this is cool.
Very cool. It's perfect for you.
It also just makes me like appreciate how much time and effort and stuff that Marvel actually put into creating these characters that are actually based on, real myths.
Yeah.
But heck yeah, I will absolutely be trying to get that eventually.
That is pretty exciting. It sucks that even if I were to surprise you with some of these for Christmas, you wouldn't even be able to play them.
Yeah, is the Wii region locked?
Yeah, all the consoles are. Except for Switch.
Yeah, that sucks. I'll just be able to look at it, as we do.
That is more than 50% of the fun. More than 50% of the enjoyment as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Alright, save your last for last.
So what was it? It was Demon Slash or something Slash?
Oh, God. No, man. It's called Dynamic Slash.
Bro, I was that far off.
You're close.
Alright. Drum roll, please. We're going to talk about a Famicom game that released in 1989. It's called Mother. Developed by Ape and Pax Softnica. Published by Nintendo, of course. Written and directed by the infamous Shigesato Itoi. Mother came out as Earthbound Beginnings here in North America in 2015 on the Wii U Virtual Console. So, we all knew Ness from Smash, and none of us had any idea who the heck he came from. You're like looking at all these characters, and you're like, okay, like I know Mario, Yoshi, freaking all these characters, but Ness, you're like, what the heck is this dude from?
Where'd he come from?
I mean, unless you're like someone who actually played Earthbound, I guess you might have known who Ness was. Yeah. Earthbound Beginnings did not release here until 2015, and it actually just came to the Switch this year on the NSO service, which is pretty sweet. I won't spend too much time talking about this one because what I'm really saving for last is Mother 3. The game that everyone and their freaking mother wants brought over to the United States and to Europe. And I will say, Hannah, I am on that train after doing a bunch of research on this game. Mother 3 seems freaking awesome, and as you know, I've been playing Earthbound the last month or two, and I'm all in. I think we need Mother 3 here as soon as possible, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Let me explain a little bit. So let's talk about development. The game was being developed for the Nintendo 64 originally. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Later, as the 64DD was coming out, it was actually going to be developed for that. And when that failed, the game ended up being canceled. So Mother 3 was actually going to be a three-dimensional game on a console. But Itoi figured the game was not going to happen at that point after it got canceled. He said there was no way it could be released at this point, and the Mother fan base actually convinced him to release the game, and the game finally, after 12 years in development, would release in 2006 for the Game Boy Advance. The game was obviously changed from 3 dimensions to 2, but the story remained the same. We would later get a ton of images of what the game would have been for the N64 release. There are a ton of leaked images that came out, I feel like not too long ago, but I could be wrong about that.
Was that part of, like, the big Nintendo leak or something?
Probably not.
No.
Maybe, though. Okay, so gameplay, not a lot to write home about. It is your typical turn-based RPG mechanics here. The reason people are obsessed with this game is not because it is, like, revolutionizing gameplay by any means. It is just your typical turn-based RPG. One twist that they did throw in, though, is you can perform combo attacks on enemies by tapping the attack button in rhythm with the background music, which is very, like, Paper Mario-y, I feel like.
Also, kind of Cadence of Hyrule, or Crypt of the Necrodancer?
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's all about rhythm. But yeah, keep going.
I didn't know that. That game has incredible music. I have listened to a lot of it.
It is very good. The remixed Zelda music is so good.
Okay. Apparently this mechanic is more difficult than it sounds, and it is highly rewarding. So I literally Googled why is Mother 3 so beloved, because I have never understood it, and wouldn't you know it, there was some website, Nintendojo.com, that was talking about why the game is so beloved. So I took a lot of notes. The game took a courageous step in the story department, and by that I mean Lucas, the main character, who is definitely in Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Forward games. He is struggling to get over the death of his mother. So right off the bat, you're hit with like this dark tone of the game, which for a Nintendo game in 2006, I feel like that was not something we ever saw. The game spans over multiple chapters and follows characters over multiple years. So that is pretty, what is the word? Pretty courageous. Courageous is not the word. Anyways.
Let's see.
The series is known for parodying RPG tropes, which I can definitely agree with that after playing a lot of Earthbound. If this game is anything like Earthbound, it's got to be really freaking weird and absolutely hilarious. The ending is very dark, apparently. The game is apparently darker than Majora's Mask. This is the reason that people believe the game has never been localized. There is drug use, there is suicide, there is animal cruelty, there is a lot going on in this freaking Game Boy Advance game from 2006. But as probably everybody knows, the game was fan translated as early as 2008, and it had 100,000 downloads in the first week. So that's pretty crazy.
That is incredibly crazy.
I was 12 when this fan translation released, so I definitely was very unknowing about all of it. I definitely did not know that people were playing Game Boy Advance games for free on the internet. I probably would have been super into that back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mother 3, definitely I'm all for it. Another reason why it's got like things going against it for ever being released here, there is like this I don't know, clan. I haven't played the game obviously, but there's like a clan of beings that like they either are genderless or I don't know what's going on with that, but you know how Nintendo is probably not wanting to step on anybody's toes, doesn't want to offend anyone. I think that is definitely a big part of it. So there's a lot of themes in this game that I don't think Nintendo wants anything to do with in 2022.
Which is so strange, because it's not like there's not any mention of that in any games, not necessarily from them, but like on their platform in general.
Yeah, I think it's a
So,
big deal if it's to be published by Nintendo, though. But
yeah.
yeah, I do think we're seeing darker tones come out of like indie games in particular. We're seeing more serious things be talked about. Something I think about is like Celeste. It was all about anxiety and depression and just loneliness. And I think that I don't know. It's not impossible that we see Mother 3, but it might be a while.
Yeah, I think I'd say chances are way better now than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, exponentially better.
Um, so the game actually came out on the Wii Virtual Console in 2016, but only in Japan. I don't think I knew that. People were probably pissed about that. um,
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, can
yeah,
you make, like, I know for the Switch, if you want stuff from other regions, you just have to make it account. Could you do that with the Wii or no?
that's what I was
I
thinking.
guess not,
I'm not sure.
because it's only one.
Yeah, I
You
don't
can only have
know.
one user on a Wii U, can't you?
It's been a few years, but yeah, I feel like it's a single owner situation.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, if Mother 3 ever releases outside of Japan, it will absolutely break the internet. I mean, it will just set the internet on fire. I think, okay, if you don't know what Mother 3 is at this point, I probably should have started with this, but like, it is like the game that people have begged for Nintendo to bring over for, I guess, over a decade. Um,
Yeah. I asked this question on Discord and on Instagram, and we didn't get any takers on Discord, but like literally half of the suggestions on Instagram were Mother 3. Mother 3, Mother 3, Mother 3.
I do have every single person that mentioned Mother 3 written down. ChunkyMonkey.exe, 0_Gurin_0, Oceanic Snom, Emma Later, CB Retro Gamer, Juppy MF, and Luis Angel Robledo all wanted Mother 3 brought over to whatever region they live in that's not Japan.
Yeah. It's highly sought after, man.
One of my friends, Craig, who does Collective Perspective with me, is obsessed with Earthbound, and yeah, I mean, so many people have just. There's a huge cult following for the entire series. You should give it a shot sometime since it's on the NSO.
I probably will now that it's more widely available. Like, I'm not going to go out and pay, what is it, like $200 or something for Earthbound on the SNES. That was
Yeah,
never going to happen. But now that it's so accessible, yeah, I think I might.
cool. That's it. That's it for that section. We are going to move on to some more. Oh wait. We gotta talk about my honorable mentions and your honorable mention singular.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we talked about earlier that, maybe games that are like more to do with one culture don't necessarily translate well to another culture, or just developers of one country might not think that it's people in the other cultures would necessarily like it. So this is an example of that, but this is like a story that's like near and dear to my heart. It's called Momotaro Densetsu, which is basically just translates to like the tale of the Peach Boy. Momo meaning peach, Taro meaning like elder son, and then Densetsu. I'm sure you're familiar with Zelda no Densetsu. Just means like legend or story.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a very popular, and it's even popular today, folklore in Japan. I've taken a couple of Japanese literature classes, and this was like one of the very first stories that I translated from start to finish. It's not particularly long, but I don't know if you've ever translated anything from one language to another. It's a lot. It took me a lot of time, especially when I was first learning. But basically, the tale is like one day a childless woman sees a giant peach floating down a river while she's doing her laundry, and so she decides to take it home and show her husband. When they cut open the peach, there's a boy inside. And they named him Momotaro for the reasons I just said. And he says that he was sent from heaven just to be their son, so they raise him as their son. The villagers urge him to fight these demons on this island, and so he agrees to go, obviously, because he's like a heavenly being. On the way there, he meets a dog, a monkey, and a pheasant who can speak the human language. So the four of them go and defeat the demons, and then everyone lives happily ever after, which doesn't really seem like a very intense story, but like it was very used for like politics and because war is quite often something that comes up in human history, so it's like always been used not necessarily as propaganda, but just as something to motivate people, the younger generation, to get off their butt and actually like go to war. There's good people, there's bad people in the world, and to think for themselves and stuff. So I just thought that was really cool. The game first came out on the Famicom in Japan in 1987 and was produced by Hudson Soft, who was later absorbed into Konami, and Hudson Soft is responsible for games like Bomberman, which you said earlier, and Mario Party. There's a whole bunch of games in this whole series. They don't necessarily always have to do with Momotaro himself, but they just kind of like have a character in there. There's actually a spin-off series called, and not to be confused with Momotaro no Densetsu, there's Momotaro no Dentetsu, or Detetsu. So, Desetsu means like electric railway or like electric train system, and so it's like a weird cross between the two. And if you can not imagine how they relate to each other, then you're not alone, because I was like, I don't get it. But it's like a board game. It's like very comparable to like Monopoly, but it kind of uses like the same characters, so it's recognizable. It's kind of like Mario Party. How Mario Party is kind of similar to like a board game like Monopoly, but not really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my honorable mention. There's just one.
I just looked it up to see if I had like recognized it before, but I've never seen this guy before ever.
Yep, Peach Boy.
So had you known about this for a while, or you just found it while doing research?
No, I've known about it for a while.
Oh, okay.
Because when I was translating and stuff, I did like a presentation on it, and then I found out that there was, of course, video games and all sorts of literature and anime and all sorts of stuff on it. So I've known about it for a while.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
That's it. I only had one.
I have some lame honorable mentions. Mine didn't make the list because I don't think they qualify. Basically, Legend of Mana Remastered, that one came here, but it's digital only. Didn't want to talk about that. Rayman 10th Anniversary on the GameCube in Europe. This is another European Ubisoft situation where they got Rayman 3 along with Rayman animated series on DVD in one bundle. Would kill for that. We'll definitely own that one day. Johnny Bravo, dude, there's a freaking... Not only did I find out that we got a DS Johnny Bravo game, but there is a PS2 one that we did not get. Complete news to me. Rayman Origins Collector's Edition. We don't have any Collector's Edition Raymans in the US, but this freaking monstrous big box is so nice, and would have loved to receive that here. Bonk's Adventure on the GameCube is a port of a TurboGrafx game, and yeah, this just like blew my mind when I found out this existed. I didn't want to bring this one up because it's just a port, and we technically have the original game here, so kind of lame. I'm watching Hunter x Hunter or Hunter x Hunter I'm watching the anime right now, and there are several games that we did not receive. Would have loved to have seen those arrive in North America. The Flintstones and the Jetsons had a bunch of games for these like British microcomputers over in Europe, and we definitely did not get them, so that's lame. And the last one I wrote was Wacky Races Mad Motors on PS2, another Hanna-Barbera license that, just would love to have seen that arrive in America.
That'd been cool. Wow.
I also wrote one that I'm not envious of Japan for, and that is the Starfy franchise, because I played Starfy on DS like 2 months ago or a month ago, and it was it was so easy and so boring, and I can't speak for the rest of the series, but I'm not envious of Starfy, so y'all can keep that, Japan.
I have that on the DS. That's a cute little star guy, right?
Yeah, he's adorable. The game is Kirby, but easier, if that's even possible.
So it's a game that you just don't want. That could have been a whole episode. You know, you can keep that.
The Japan, you can keep that episode.
Yeah, we could have made the tingle. What is it called? Love something.
Oh yeah.
Japan can keep that. Determined that they can totally keep that.
All right, let's get into other listener responses now. Would you like to start?
Yeah. Do you want me to read one and then you read one, or just read all mine?
Yeah, we can take turns.
Okay. So, of course, not in any particular order, just the order that I decided to look them up. These we wanted to go a little bit more in depth because sometimes we read things and we're just like, yeah, okay, we'll take your word for it. Like, we don't know what that is. But I was like, yeah, we should probably research it and actually see what they are. So the first one is Moon Chronicles 3DS by Mr. Boogus. And Moon, let me just give you a little background, is a first-person shooter developed by Renegade Kid, originally for the DS, released in 2009. The game features full 3D environments for the players to explore. There are weapons to collect and obviously enemies to fight. The gameplay is mostly action-oriented, but there also are puzzle elements to it. And so Moon Chronicles on the 3DS is an episodic remake of the first Moon game that came out on the DS, which expands the story just a little bit further. So episode 1 was released for $9 on the eShop, followed by episode 2, 3, and 4, released as DLC for $4.50 each, or $9 for all 3. Episodes 1 through 4 make up the entire Moon game on the DS, so you have to get all the episodes to get the full story. And I assume that, of course, there's just extra story and extra story elements in each one of those. But I didn't dive too deeply into that. And then, these were not released in Europe, so it was just like a US thing.
Oh, okay. I'm looking it up right now. I was about to say, I think it definitely came out here.
It came out in the US for sure, but it didn't come out in Europe.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard, I see Moon on Instagram all the time. It's like a pretty popular, and I think it's expensive now.
It probably is.
That's how it goes. I have Funtime Wallace from the Discord said Klonoa Moonlight Museum, which is the first and maybe only WonderSwan game. Only WonderSwan Klonoa game, to be clear. After 1997's PS1 hit, Namco released Klonoa Moonlight Museum on the WonderSwan in 1999, and I think the WonderSwan is a Namco console, if I am not mistaken, so that adds up. Yeah, it set the standard for the handheld Klonoa games going forward, and we do have Klonoa 1 and 2 coming, I guess remastered or just a collection is coming to the Switch in the next few months, so that's cool.
Do you know if it got a physical release in the US? I thought it was...
We're still waiting on that. Right now we are...
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's kind of a region exclusive.
Yeah.
At the moment. That's all I got. You're up.
Okay, my turn. So the next one is Donkey Konga 3 by Sans Pants. Developed by Namco for the GameCube. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. I mean, it's basically just another Donkey Konga game, which is, if you don't know, I believe it was bundled. I don't know if all of the copies were bundled, but it was bundled with, bongo drums, the two little drums, and you hit them, and then whatever you hit obviously emulates what's on the screen. But it's also, I think, I don't know. I don't know why this one wasn't released. They didn't really give us, like, a reason, but it has the same playable characters as the other ones, Donkey Kong, Dixie Kong, Diddy Kong, but it also includes Funky Kong as player 4.
Oh.
So it adds something, and of course the songs are, like, popular J-pop at the time, but it also includes Zelda, Mario, Kirby, and Pokemon songs. A whole, like, a slew of songs. I wasn't going to put all of them down. Even ones that I didn't recognize, like from video games. I'm like, yep, that's probably region exclusive. I'll never know what that one's from, but yeah.
That is weird. I feel like the first two were really popular here.
Yep, and it came out in Japan in 2005, but did not make its way over here. I don't believe it made its way to any other region outside of Japan, but I could be wrong. I didn't write that down.
Yeah, I let you talk about that one because I'm a good person. I saw that on your list, and I was like, you know what? I won't take all the good ones. She can talk about Donkey Konga. Next up is Sweet Home, which was mentioned by Dinosaur Gods. This game is... for sure had to be mentioned on this episode. Sweet Home is developed and published by Capcom for the Famicom in 1989. People see it as the predecessor to the Resident Evil franchise. It's a horror game RPG set in a mansion, and there are 5 playable characters that you can switch between at any time. It's based on the 1989 movie of the same name. The game was directed by Tokuro Fujiwara, who had previously worked on Ghosts and Goblins. He toured the set of the movie to get inspiration for the video game. I thought that was neat. The game is often cited as laying the groundwork for the entire horror genre. So yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard of Sweet Home. This game is pretty important historically. I watched a little bit of gameplay. Definitely not scary because it's 8-bit top-down graphics, but it is definitely a cool-looking Famicom game.
I have never heard of that.
Nice.
That's, of course I haven't, because I'm not a scary anything fan. Scary movie, video games, but we all know that. Okay, so the next one is Chaos Seed by Reno the Collector. Have you ever heard of that one?
No.
Okay, so it's a role-playing game published by Neverland and Taito Corporation for the Sega Saturn and the Super Famicom. It's a mix of action RPG, strategy, simulation. It's kind of like all of that mixed into one. I was trying to read this guy's like blog post about it, but honestly, it was like 3 pages long and I was lost. But I'll give you a little bit of what he said. He said the game is set in a mythical country resembling ancient China, and you play as a Dozin, which is a mythical, like, mystic hermit who controls caverns and caves beneath the Earth's surface. You spend most of the game expanding and building the caverns yourself, and can give, like, the rooms different functions. Some rooms can be used to, like, generate more energy, or can be dedicated to item crafting, which seems kind of like similar to, like, a Minecraft Dragon Quest Builders concept, where you're, like, creating your own, like, little dungeon layer kind of deal. But it's also got so many other elements, I was just so confused. It's one of those things that I'll probably never be able to explain, even if I play the game, truthfully. But it looked really good, and the guy said it, I mean, it's endless. So, like, you can spend so much time on it. So, that was pretty neat.
Cool. Mm-hmm. I got Doshin the Giant.
I believe it only came out in Japan, too.
Dang it. I'm so sorry for interrupting you.
It's all good.
I got Doshin the Giant from J-Boy Mods. It is a GameCube title that was developed by Param and published by Nintendo. Now, I've seen this game before. I think it is pretty popular, a pretty popular region exclusive. But the genre for this game is, and I quote, God game. So, Wikipedia says, as a god game, Doshin the Giant's gameplay revolves around typical godlike abilities and tasks, such as altering the geography, managing natural disasters, or answering prayers from simulated worshippers.
Huh.
Its designer, Kazutoshi, is that an I? Ida, has described it as Populous meets Mario. That's funny. I have definitely seen this game, and I thought the character was like from a TV show or something. He looks very familiar to me, but
it's like Jolly Green Giant.
Yeah, yeah.
But yellow.
The game originally released on the Nintendo 64 disk drive in '99, and it came out for the GameCube with upgraded graphics in 2002. Never to be ported or heard from again.
Well, I've seen it on Instagram so many times.
Oh, okay.
Is it expensive?
I don't know how expensive region exclusive games are. Like, I just don't have a good concept of that.
I don't either, but I just figured since it was GameCube, it's probably expensive.
Right. I think it was,
right.
I think they had the intent to release it in North America, and it ended up getting canceled.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, next.
Yeah.
All right, my next one is all the Fire Emblem games that haven't come over from Japan from Victor.Y 1998 and Zach Daly. So a lot of people want these Fire Emblem games. I wasn't going to go through and tell you exactly what all the Fire Emblem games are and like what the stories and stuff. So I just kind of listed a bunch of them here, but we all know they're like tactical RPGs. where, everything's a grid and you attack based on whatever the parameters of the game is. You can only move one space to here, one space here, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, there's actually a couple, which I didn't realize how many there were. There's Fire Emblem Gaiden, released on the Famicom in Japan in 1992. It was actually recently remade as Fire Emblem Echoes Shadow of Valentia for the 3DS in 2017. Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem came out on the Super Famicom in 1994, was remade and renamed New Mystery of the Emblem, and came out on the DS in Japan only in 2010. There's Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, came out in 1986 on the Super Famicom in Japan only. And Fire Emblem Thracia 776 or 776, I'm not sure. Released in 1999 for the Super Famicom in Japan.
Wow, what a mouthful.
There's a lot of them.
Which game became, like, which game did we just get on Switch? The little $5 one?
Shadow Dragon and the Blinding Light, something like that. I have it written down somewhere, but yeah, that one came out. We talked about that one earlier.
Yeah, I just get all the names mixed up, just like you
so
Castlevania.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it is. They just name them things so confusing.
My next one here is Goemon, which is from KyleYager.ky. This is a Konami franchise known as Mystical Ninja here, or Mystical Ninja starring Goemon. Have you ever heard of these, seen these?
Yes. There's a Goemon game on the Nintendo 64, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. They're not all exclusive, but out of about 20 games in the series, we got 4 of them here. So, yeah. This is a pretty beloved franchise. It was first released in arcades in 86. The last original game has not been released since 2005, and it was on the DS. It's basically a series of 2D and 3D action platformers where you run, jump, throw weapons, the usual. I have not played the N64 one. I haven't played any of the games in the series, actually.
Me either.
All right, pal, go for it.
Okay, the last one for me is Shining Force 3, Scenario 2 and 3. So we got Shining Force 1, Shining Force 2, Shining Force 3, but only Scenario 1. So the Shining series is a turn-based tactical RPG game for the Mega Drive and the Genesis console, but there's a whole bunch in the Shining series. I don't know if you've ever heard of Shining Resonance Refrain for the Switch.
I know all
Probably
about
not.
the Shining games, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's one of the ones that I have, and I've actually played it. It was alright. Again, I think that was no, maybe not. I did play it, and I wasn't a big fan. It was just kind of weird. But I think if I went back now with my newfound appreciation for JRPGs and RPGs in general, I think I might like it a little more. Anyway, the combat of this game looks like a typical tactical RPG, like Fire Emblem. The map is a grid, and you can move depending on whatever the game's parameters are. So this game was supposed to come out in 3 different interconnected episodes, so Scenario 1, 2, and 3, where you need to play through all 3 to get the whole story, but the US only got the first one, whereas Japan got all 3 of them, so the US players have been stuck with this cliffhanger for years. So, yeah. Oh, and this was suggested by J.W. Jax III.
J.W. Jax the Third. All right, thank you guys for the awesome responses. As usual, Discord or Hannah's Instagram story, or I don't know, maybe I'll start posting it on my Instagram story too. But definitely those 2 places if you would like to be shouted out on the show.
Definitely.
I wrote down some more that should be mentioned if they haven't been at this point in the podcast. So we haven't mentioned F-Zero Climax, which was a Game Boy Advance game, region locked to Japan, I believe. Rockman.exe 4.5 and EXE 6. These are the Mega Man Battle Network games. I guess we never got 4.5 and 6. They were Japan only. Hamtaro Rainbow Rescue. I have heard that some of the Hamtaro games are pretty poppin'. The Ys games we mentioned, Fire Emblem was mentioned. Shin Megami Tensei on the Super Nintendo, I felt like that was kind of an important one. I guess technically Super Famicom. I didn't even know this was a 16-bit game. I thought that the series started on like PS1.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Terra Enigma is I guess a really popular Super Nintendo RPG. I don't remember which regions that one came out in, just definitely not here. Okay. What else do we have here, Hannah? Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we covered all of our bases.
We did the thing. Episode 26.
We did do the thing.
All right.
Yep. So.
Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna say just down below if there's any games that didn't come to your region, you should let us know, and maybe we'll want to add them into our collection as well.
I love when we say drop a comment and down below. We're assuming everyone listens on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean, and they know what you mean too.
Thanks for making me feel stupid. Or message us on Instagram.
Where can the people do that, Hannah?
Game Girl Advance SP.
I am at Bird Dog Gaming everywhere. Let me plug a couple of things real quick. Make sure you guys hang out on Monday nights. I am streaming at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time every week. There's a new episode of Collective Perspective out. Yeah. Anything you want to plug, Hannah?
Nope. I'm good.
Love and appreciate you guys. Please join the Discord to come hang out with us and talk about all things gaming. And until May, we will see you next time on the Unlockable podcast.
See ya.